Hello everybody, warm welcome back to the channel. Yaje here, and as always I am excited to share with you another gardening video. Guys, today's video is going to be about bitterleaf stem propagation. Specifically, I will answer the question about how you can tell if the bitterleaf stem that you have is going to take root. Is your bitterleaf stem still good, or is it too dry and it will not root when you try to propagate the bitterleaf stem? That is the specific question that I am going to answer in today's video. If you're new to the channel, again, hello and welcome. My name is Yaje. I am super passionate about gardening, especially gardening culturally meaningful African vegetables out here in the diaspora. My garden is in Houston, Texas, in Zone 9A. I have been gardening for so many years now, and I do teach about what I learn on this channel. If that is something that you would find important to you, go ahead and subscribe to the channel. Give this video a thumbs up if it adds value to you. Thank you very much. So guys, today we are going to be talking about bitterleaf stem propagation. Now guys, in this bucket I have some bitterleaf stems. This is from December. These are about a month old, and I have it in here in water just to kind of preserve them, to help them root, and then when it is spring I'm going to take them to the garden. It's just one way to preserve my bitter leaves throughout the winter. Back in December here in Houston, we had kind of a hard freeze. Temperatures went down below 20 degrees Fahrenheit. That was really cold. So I cut up all the bitter leaves that I had in the garden, the stems, put them in the bucket. Behind me you would also see some bitter leaves in containers. I had started the propagation of these ones back in August of 2022 via stem. Eventually took them to the garden and planted them in containers so that during the winter I take them inside, and then when spring rolls around I have bitter leaves to get my garden started. Just a tip on preservation. Anyway, back to the bitter leaf stems. So in this bucket I have water and my bitter leaf stems inside, and I'm just trying to get the stems to root in water. You can do that in soil if you want to, but I just find this one like really quick and easy. Everything in a bucket. I change the water every 2 weeks, which we are going to do. I will show you in this video. So these stems are like mature stems. You can see they are like brown. These are hardwood bitter leaf, like really mature bitter leaf stems, almost guaranteed to root. As you can see, it's rooting very nicely. But these were like super fresh when I rooted them. Like I cut them from the garden, put them in water the same day. With brown stems, it's guaranteed to root. It might take a while to produce the roots and the shoots. These are 1 month old, but this is very good. You know, eventually I'm going to cut this up into smaller pieces. I was just trying to preserve them. But everybody does not have access to bitter leaf stems. I know, because a lot of people have been reaching out to me. They want bitter leaf stems. So sometimes I have to ship this to people and it might take a while to get to them. Or sometimes you might have to get it from faraway places like back home from Africa. So by the time it gets to you, it is not very fresh. So how can you tell if the stem is still good enough to propagate via stem? Like, is it going to root? Now guys, you know bitter leaves can be propagated by the seeds as well, right? So we have bitter leaf seeds. I have propagated bitter leaves via seeds before. I have the seeds here from my garden. I'll show you. So this is how the bitter leaf seed looks like feathers, but it takes a while for them to germinate, and we have a short growing season. So sometimes propagating your bitter leaf from stems is easier. Okay, so say you get a bitter leaf stem that looks like this. I just got this from the garden today, or like this. Okay, so how can you tell? There's a very simple way that you can tell if your bitter leaf stem is still alive and it will root. Okay, so you just get a knife or anything that you can scratch. So go as far away from the bottom as possible and then just scratch it and scratch it. Okay, by scratching it, you'll be able to tell if that stem is alive or if it is dead. Look at this one, very brown, definitely dead stem, will not root, as opposed to this one. Okay, I'm going to scratch it very far away from, as opposed to this one. I scratch, see how green it is right here. This is a stem that is living and it will take root when I put it in water. Okay, so that's an easy way to tell. If you have that bitter leaf stem and you're not sure if it's good enough, go ahead and do that little scratch test and you'll be able to tell. If it looks dead, it is probably dead. If it looks alive, it's probably alive. You can just put it in water, change the water again every week or every 2 weeks until it roots. I like using water to root my bitter leaf stems before eventually transferring them to the soil, as in the ones you see right behind me. They're in soil right now, but I started them by rooting them first in water before transferring them. That way I know for sure that the bitter leaves will survive, because sometimes the bitter leaf can produce leaves without producing roots. It happens. Okay, you can, if you put it directly in soil, sometimes it produces all of these shoots and you're thinking your bitter leaf is good. Meanwhile, it is decaying at the bottom and you cannot see because it's in the soil. But if you have it in water, you can clearly see the roots. All right, guys, so I'm going to just change the water. I have another bucket, and these buckets I just get from my neighbors here, the people that have cats. I go around, and when they're throwing the cat litter bucket away, I do bring them to my garden and I use them for things like this. So I have fresh water in here. Actually, I need more water, so we just change the water every week or every 2 weeks until when it's March and it's warm and it's spring. I will plant these in the garden. Okay, I'll plant this directly in the garden. Like I said, you could choose to do this directly in soil, in a potting mix soil, but I find this easier just doing it in water. I don't expect to harvest any bitter leaves from these while they're in water, but it preserves the stems for me. This bucket stays inside the house. I don't leave this outside. It stays inside the house, so it's temperature controlled. Okay, so that's it. I take this one inside. See the dirty water from the other one? I will throw that one in the garden. So guys, thank you for watching. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up. Let me know where you're watching from. Let me know if this video was useful to you. Let me know what you would like to watch. If you have questions, drop them in the comment section below. Until next time, bye.